Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, in this video, I'm going to be talking about some Christopher Landon information that came out 3 days ago. And I'm just going to be talking about him no longer being the director for Scream 7 because he quit a couple weeks ago. And he posted about it 3 days ago on his social media account on X, saying that he's no longer the director for Scream 7. So we're just going to be talking about all of that. And so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I'd really appreciate it. And we're just gonna dive right into this. So Christopher Landon pretty much exited from the franchise, no longer the director. And whenever I found out about this, I was pretty shocked because I just did not expect this to happen. And it was just like out of nowhere for me. So I was very surprised whenever this had, when I first found out about this. And yeah, it's just a all over the place situation, because Melissa Barrera gets fired and, Jenna Ortega, she's not returning for Scream 7 either because of, them low paying her just like they did to Neve Campbell last year, which I never made a video about that, but I know that happened like last month. And the last video I made was whenever Melissa Barrera got fired a month ago. So that was the last Scream 7 video I made, and there's been information that has came out ever since, but I just never talked about them. But I know Jenna is also not returning for Scream 7 because of her being low paid, just like Neve Campbell was for last year in Scream 6. And so this situation, I kind of feel bad for Christopher Landon because, he was a really big Scream fan, and you can tell he was. And, for him, for him to get this opportunity to, do a Scream film, to direct a Scream film, and possibly write it, be a part of the writing as well. I feel bad for him because now he's not going to be able to do any of these things. And, it's a really messy situation. And, I just feel bad for Christopher Landon. He's, like I said, he was inspired by the franchise, and he's even said it himself. And so for him, like I said, to get this moment to direct a Scream film, to direct Scream 7, and even possibly write it as well, be a part of the writing, and just for all this to happen, Melissa Barrera getting fired, and then Jenna Ortega also not returning, you can tell, this took a big toll on him, and plus him getting blamed by some people, just saying that, why did you fire Melissa Barrera? Why did you low pay Jenna Ortega? Why did you not have, why did you do all these things? You got some people on the internet just blaming Christopher Landon for all these terrible things that are happening, even though it's not his fault. This is all a studio decision. This is all Spyglass, specifically Gary Barber. He's the one that's doing all this, So whenever I see people blaming Christopher Landon for, all these terrible things happening, I'm just like, bro, it's not his fault. This is all a studio decision. And the same thing happened to Radio Silence last year too, whenever, Neve Campbell also, didn't get paid what she wanted. And, you had people blaming Radio Silence for, Neve not returning and Neve not getting the money she wanted. You had people blaming Radio Silence last year for Scream 6 during that time. And it was just like I said, this was all a studio decision. This is Spyglass that is doing all this. So I just don't know. I don't know why people just blame the directors for decisions like this being made. And so, yeah, you can tell that took a toll on Christopher Landon as well, like him being blamed and getting all this unjustified hate towards him as well. Just, all this took a toll on Christopher Landon. Plus, he definitely, because that's one of the reasons he quit. But like, plus, I just, Christopher Landon quitting because of, this whole situation. Like, I doubt Christopher Landon wanted to make a Scream 7 movie with a corrupted studio like Spyglass. You know, I doubt, he was trying to make a film with the corrupted studio that did all this. So I just feel like, Christopher Landon left because of that reason as well. That those are the only two reasons he could have left. And it's definitely both, but like, those are the more logical reasonings, because I just don't see any other reasons for why he would have left. So, like as far as that goes, I just, like I said, it's those were the two reasons Christopher Landon left Scream 7 and is no longer the director. And at the end of the day, it just sucks because, it's we, like I said, we just found out a month ago that Melissa Barrera was fired. Then not that long after, we find out Jenna Ortega is not returning for Scream 7. But at first, most of us thought that, it was because, of scheduling issues, because that was the information that was coming out at first, right? We thought, Jenna's not returning because of scheduling issues for Scream 7, because, and that was all the news that was coming out about that. But then we find out like a week later that, that she's not returning because they didn't pay her what she wanted. Again, just like Nev Campbell. So, we got Melissa not returning, Jenna not returning, and now Christopher Landon has left. It's just a big mess right now. And it's a big mess. And like I just don't know where to go from here, because like at this point, as far as where I'm at, I'm not gonna watch Scream 7 if Spyglass is a part of it. If Spyglass is a part of Scream 7, I'm not watching it. That's where I'm at this point. And it sucks to say that because I'm a really big Scream fan, and I just got into these movies. Like I've seen Scream 1 and 2 and Scream 3 as well, like many years ago, but like I remember getting back into them like 2 years ago and watching all the films, including Scream 4, which at that point I hadn't seen yet. So I watched the first 4 Scream movies, and then a couple months later in 2022, that's whenever Scream 5 came out. So then I watched that one, and I was just really enjoying these movies, becoming like a real fan of the franchise, because whenever I had seen them like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, at that time, I was just like casually watching it as a kid. I wasn't that like into them. But whenever I watched them 2 years ago, and I started actually, paying more attention to what was going on in these films, like I actually started enjoying them. And, everything was normal. For the time being, watching all these films, everything was normal. But then ever since we got to Scream 6, we had all these things happening. Like I said, ever since Scream 6, I just, we find out, Nev is not returning because of her not getting paid. Then now Scream 7, we got all these things happening. So, like the first five movies that I've seen of the Scream movies were the only times that I, from what I got to experience, were not anything bad happening. And I know that there were studio interferences with Scream 3 and even Scream 4. The first and second one, there was no studio interference. Maybe a little bit, but like it wasn't anything major compared to Scream 3 and 4. And, but Scream 1, 2, and 5, there was really no studio interference. And, Scream 3 did have studio interference, and so did Scream 4. And Scream 6 and 7, as we know now in the modern time, they had and have issues themselves. So just a bunch of studio, poor decisions that are being done, just like how they were back then. And, it's but as far as where I'm at, because whenever the first three Scream movies came out, I wasn't even born, so I didn't get to experience those movies. So whenever Scream 3 had all those studio interferences, I didn't get to witness that. I wasn't present during that time, But whenever Scream 4 came out, I was like, I was like 6 years old. So, and at that point, I still hadn't watched any of the movies yet until probably like a year later in 2012. So whenever I was 7 years old, I watched all the films. And what's it called? Like I watched the first three films, but I never watched the fourth one. Then 2 years ago, I watched all four films, and everything was normal. Like I obviously, because the movies had already came out. So whatever studio interference happened in Scream 3 and 4, I wasn't there to witness it. Same, but I did watch Scream 5, so there was no studio interference in that movie. So, I got to watch it and have a good time with it. And then we get to Scream 6 and to Scream 7, and we get all this studio interference that I am actually witnessing, because now I am actually a big fan of the franchise. So it just sucks to see all this happening, And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure it sucks for most of you as well. And, like I said, if Scream 7 comes out and Spyglass is a part of it, I'm not gonna watch it. And it sucks to say that, but it is what it is. Unless they sell the rights to another company, to another production company, then I'll watch Scream 7. I'll watch Scream 7 if they sell the rights to another production company. And, so if Spyglass does that, then sure, I'll be good, and I'll watch Scream 7. And, but even then, the thing is that if they sell the rights to a new company, will that new production company try to get back Melissa Barrera and Nev Campbell and Jenna Ortega? These people that were, they got screwed over by the studio. Like, will this new production company try to get them back? If that's the case, and, because and if they do a Scream 7, will it be called Scream 7 because it's the seventh installment in the franchise? Or will it be some kind of reboot or, something like that? Like, I don't know. I don't know where this franchise is going to go from here at this point, because there's just all this chaos happening, all this mess happening. And I just don't know, how we're going to continue with this franchise. And, if like I said, because even if Spyglass does sell the rights to another company, and now another company has the rights to the franchise, even then, what is this new company gonna do? Are they gonna try to get back the people who got screwed over by the Spyglass? Or are they gonna just move on and do a reboot and not call it Scream 7, even though it is gonna be the seventh installment? Similar to Scream 5, but like it's good, like is Scream 7 just gonna be a full on reboot, or is it actually gonna be a Scream 7 that is in the continuity of the whole franchise, but with new characters? I just don't know. I really don't know what they're gonna do for this next Scream movie, and it's just like I said, it's a very confusing mess that I don't know. Like I just don't know where we could go from here. So, yeah, like as a Scream fan, it just all this sucks. It just it's a really crappy situation that that has happened, and at this point, I don't see Nev Campbell returning for Scream 7 because you know not only do they screw over Melissa Barrera, Jen Ortega, but also they screwed her over last year. But not only that, but then Spyglass, Gary Barber specifically, last month, there was an article that came out about him that said, there was, these sources that were saying that, you know, he was talking about like how he never needed Nev Campbell or Jenna Ortega to have a successful franchise. And like that's what Gary Barber was saying. Like he was saying that he never needed Nev Campbell or Jenna Ortega to have a successful franchise, and that's just messed up because like you're just basically disrespecting them at this point. Like they're nothing. Like you know you're basically just you know like trying to make it seem like they're just like some a doormat to you, right? Like you're just gonna walk all over them and treat them like they're nothing. You're gonna view them like they're nothing. That's just like, why would you say that? But coming from a corrupted studio like that, it's no surprise. Like that Spyglass would say this, specifically Gary Barber. Like it's no surprise that he would say something like that. So I just don't see Nev Campbell wanting to return after he himself literally said, "We don't need you, Nev. We don't need you. We never needed you." And he said the same about Jenna. Like he never needed Jenna to become a successful franchise, even though Jenna Ortega was like she was already becoming popular during Scream 5, but once Scream 6 came out, she was like very popular. So Jenna Ortega was like a big attraction to this franchise, to these newer movies. So it's kind of like bro, what are you talking about? What do you mean you never needed Jenna to have a successful franchise when these new movies became successful mainly because of her? So like what is what is Spyglass talking about? Like you're trying to say you don't need Jenna, but like she's the main reason these new movies became successful in the first place. So they're basically just disrespecting Nev and Jen Ortega. And so it's just like, at this point, I just don't see either of them returning. Even if Spyglass tries to apologize and say, "Oh, um, I'll pay you whatever you want to return, for Scream 7." I just don't see them wanting to return. Like I just don't. After you do all this, screw them. You don't pay two actresses, and then you also fire one for a dumb reason. So it's just like I don't see Nev, Jenna, or Melissa wanting to return. Even if Spyglass apologizes and says, "Hey, we'll give you money, we'll give you this. Just please come back to Scream 7." I still don't see them coming back. I just don't. Like at this point, it's just I feel like it's done at this point. They're not gonna return, and yeah, I don't know. Um, like and it doesn't seem like Spyglass really cares. Like if because if they did, they would have just apologized. Like, did they ever apologize to Nev? No. Did they ever apologize to Melissa? No. Did they ever apologize to Jenna? No. All they've ever done is try to like, whenever Spyglass fired Melissa, all they did was try to make Melissa look bad by still trying to paint her out as anti-Semitic. Like instead of apologizing, they still tried to paint her in a bad light. So it's it's kind of hard to just think that, oh yeah, they're gonna Melissa and Jenna and Nev are just gonna return after all this. It's just like they literally tried to make Melissa look bad even after they fired her. They still tried to do it. So